Okay, welcome. Last session of the day, and it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Mark Walsh. Now, I have a guilty secret. I don't know whether it's a guilty secret, actually. But I'm halfway through Mark's Embodiment program. And I have to say that Mark has possibly introduced me to things I absolutely never thought I would ever do in my entire life. Not even for my husband. And this is the truth. This is the absolute truth, okay?
Advertising or warning.
Hey, it's, you know what? And in doing that, I can honestly say that I've discovered that I've been carrying my brain around like my body's been carrying my brain around like some sort of taxi. And all the feedback I ever had to myself about getting in touch with the somatic side of my work in coaching, I've been working on that for years and years and years, and it will be an ongoing process, but certainly his work has opened up my eyes in a way I never thought possible. So Mark is the founder, Mark's the founder of the Embodied Facilitator course, the Embodiment Conference, integrated training and embodiment yoga principles. He's an Aikido black belt, I had to get that in, and has dedicated his life to embodied learning. I have to say, he's prolific in being so generous with his work on the internet, and there's lots of coaching and podcasts and all sorts of things that's freely available to you. And he's been very generous to give his time today to share with us some of the things that we could be using in our own coaching practice. So please put your hands together for Mark Walsh.
This is the moment where I wonder if my flies are undone, normally, when I stand on stage. So welcome, thank you, welcome. I help people work with the body, help people come home to the body. Many of you, I imagine, as coaches already do some of this. It's just a specialism I have, and I'd love to share that with you for the next hour. It's interactive. If there's something you'd rather not do, of course, don't do it. Take a rest, no problem. And you'll get a lot more from this if you're open, participatory, jumping in. Why don't we start with the body itself? So if you're willing, close your eyes and just feel how you are. So no special coach tricks. No need to do anything. Just noticing how you are. Working with embodiment for about 20 years, and it gets simpler every year. Really coming home. Inhabiting yourself. Embodiment is the subjective experience of the body, so have an experience, have an in-body experience. If we just did this for an hour, that'll be pretty good use of time. Okay, now turn around, smile at someone, look at someone. If you feel like a hug might be appropriate, if you're both up for it, make sure it's consensual. Okay, and great. I promised Liz I wouldn't swear or swear at anyone, so I'm using a very polite shh, the Mexican shh, which I've stolen from Laura. Very well done. Thank you for that, Laura. One of the things that happens when we start working with the body is sometimes people get a bit nervous, almost a bit embarrassed. And the very British thing to do is to make sort of jokes to people around you. I do that, I get it. Please avoid that, and please help me out with the sort of spreading. Who's a coach that already works with the body in some form? You should all have your hands up, because you all have bodies, right? Okay. You all are embodied more than having a body. Who's kind of would identify primarily as an embodied coach, like trained through me or Strozzi or Newfield or Wendy Palmer? These are all people in this field. Just put your hands up. Aboudi, my friend here, has got a lot of experience. Yeah. Claire Meyer, of course. Maybe you heard her trauma session. Great. And who's kind of naughty? Who's like a rebel and a bit naughty? Just give me a wave or a middle finger or... Okay. So I used to work with children, and the job I would like you to do is you're my sort of police people, And when everybody's going blah, 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 and the exercise is over, your job is to help me kind of gather people in politely. Okay, so if the rebels could help me out, I'd appreciate it. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. A little overview of embodiment experientially. I'll only talk at you for about 5-10 minutes, and then we'll dive in. A couple of tools. We might accidentally have a good time along the way. My trainings are known as being a little bit cheeky and anarchic and fun, so that if you're easily offended, you may be in the wrong place. Okay, so maximize your learning is a phrase I stole from Abudi. Where did you steal it from, Abudi? Rumi. It's Rumi, classy. Okay. And like, sometimes I teach groups, and I look around the room and I see this. Entertain me. Show me something, a supposed guru. Or I see, I know. Why would I learn it? I know. And I don't want to waste your time or mine today. So essentially, you're an hour closer to your death at the end of this little workshop. That's true. That's a fact. So how would you be in your body right now if you were kind of ready for learning, open for learning? How would you be? How would you be standing? How would you be breathing? Just show me. Don't tell me. Just do it. So you've got 3 seconds to maximize your learning, because otherwise you're learning through your default operating system, and that might not be open, curious, whatever's helpful. Okay. So basically, we've done everything already. We've done it all, which is how are you and how do you want to be? That's sort of it. How are you in the short term and how are you in the long term? That's a little bit harder. So for example, are you choosing how you're standing right now? Some of you are standing like this. I'm a good coach. Yeah? Some of you are standing like this. What do you want? Yeah? Different ways. Now, a claim of embodiment is that's not just neutral. If it was engineering, we'd all be standing with the middle of our foot under our hip socket, perfectly like this, like in the pictures of anatomy books. Nobody stands that way. Okay? Whatever, yeah? We have a personality that is not only being expressed through our bodies, this would be like body language, right? It's being created through how we stand, how we breathe, how we move, how you sip your drink, how you do your hair, how you wave slightly, yeah? So have a look at how you're standing. What is that creating? Is that the way of being you would like right now? Maybe. I didn't say talk about it. Exhibit A. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about my own story, not because it's particularly significant, but actually because it's really the story of our culture in many ways. We live in a disembodied world, a disconnected world, and that's actually an inhumane world. That's why I care about this. So I grew up in a family of teachers with lots of books, and I was very clever. I was very good at school, and I was told that's what matters. And there I was, clever little Mark, getting A's in all my exams. But by the time I was 17, I was drug and alcohol addicted, utterly suicidal, and I totally failed in my first relationships, my first kind of intimate relationships with young women. And I thought, well, you know, I'm sitting there with a can of beer and a razor blade and a few other things I won't mention because it's being recorded. And I said to myself, if I'm so clever, why am I such a mess? Right? Why am I such a mess if I'm so clever? I'd read every book in the library at sixth form, literally every book. They had to order books in from Cambridge University. They said you have an IQ in the top 0.01%. I don't anymore because of the drinking, but I did then. And I thought, I've been told this story that what matters is cognitive learning. The head of a company, that's what we say, the head, right? We know, like, why hasn't Wikipedia solved all the world's problems? Think about it. You get this phone, and all the information of all the cultures in the world pretty much is right there. All the information is right there. Yet is that making people wiser? Is that helping us as coaches? More books, more information, more websites. And it's okay, it's fine to know about stuff. But is that the most fundamental level for us as human beings or for us as coaches? So my own personal history is by the time I went to university to study psychology, I wasn't that interested in the library. Because I was involved in some illegal activities, I was interested in self-defense. So I found a martial arts club. And I walked into a dojo, which is a Aikido school, a place of the way. And I fell in love with it. I saw people moving. I saw discipline. I saw creativity. I saw people who had themselves together. And as I trained, I was terrible at it at first. First thing I'd ever been awful at. Absolutely terrible at it. But I started to learn about myself. I started to see my patterns. Yeah, this is what I do with clients now. And I started to gain skills that were actually useful for my life. It was character development. And I threw myself into Aikido, and I ended up living in an Aikido dojo, training all day long. There was me and a guy called Polish Pete, Pietra. And he didn't speak English, but we became best friends. So how is that possible? Because surely it's all about words, right? Coaches have the best questions. It's all about words. I mean, I see this when I do this talk and speeches like this in Russia, and I have an interpreter. And I say, da-da-da-da-da, and the interpreter says, do-do-do-do-do. I love Russia, but sometimes I go, oh, you've killed my message, right? You've killed the passion of it. Like, you know this. A dog knows this. A dog knows if it's the boss or you are. A child knows this. A child will know to feel safe or not around you. Or it says, my niece will be like, can I have another bedtime story? And she knows if I'm going to say yes or no. If there's 1% chink in their armor, she can see it. 5 years old, genius at this, absolute genius at it. Also, you already run your life like this. Think of who here has ever been in love? Please put your hand gently up and waft it in the rainbows. Did you work that out on an Excel spreadsheet? It was a feeling, right? It was a sense of like, oh, it's something that's really... I met my wife working in war zones. I spent a lot of time working in war zones after working with kids in outdoor education. And again, you know, up an Abseil tower, how much does the theory of heart rate variability help? Right? Like, theories like this. If I said, I'll give you a lift home. I've got a car, and I've read a lot of books on driving. You'd say, well, or I am an amazing lover. I have looked at all the videos on kissing. Yeah, you'd be like, okay, yeah, it's not really proof. So I started to realize this practical learning, and you know, these are bullet holes, by the way, in a school in Brazil I was working in, and this is me taking the machine guns away from a youth campus in Ethiopia. That was a fun gig. And again, I realized like real life learning is not just learning about things. It's not even just learning tricks. It's about being, right? Like, I've been to Ethiopia, but you can't learn what Ethiopia is like from a book. Yeah, you have to be there, you have to hang out with people, you have to dance with people, you have to have an Ethiopian girlfriend maybe, or whatever, right? You move with people, you get to know people that way and learn the culture that way. It's very different from studying, you know, looking at a video on it on YouTube, for example. So after sort of getting tired of getting shot at and dangerous stuff, I decided to, you know, there was all this great stuff in dance, in yoga, I'm doing all these things, martial arts, but most people aren't going to do this like me and Pete. They're not going to throw each other around. It's too much, right? But the skills from these embodied arts, yeah, these skills can be brought to normal people just in a suit, in a business, in a coaching session. And you know, that's what I do now with yoga teachers, with business people. What I see is it's getting easier because of mindfulness, because of emotional intelligence. There's been a lot of great talks today that have mentioned the body. I'm not the only one here for sure working with the body. And it's catching on. It's great. It's like there's a revolution happening of re-embodiment, of people coming back to feeling, coming back to sensation. And it is happening. And I'd say it's our birthright. For me, embodiment just means to be fully human, to not be living from the neck up, to not be disconnected to our values, like what do we really care about? You feel that. That's what you like falling in love. You feel it. Yeah? You don't work it out cognitively. Whew. Too much too soon? You okay? So why don't we move? And what I'd love is, especially hot drinks, be a bit careful, maybe put those to the side. Without talking, that means no words. That means in silence, because you'll just learn more, you'll feel more that way. It's advanced to feel and talk. Go for a walk around the room. Simple as that. Go for a walk around the room. Feel yourself in this space with these people. Move your bags, maybe. Definitely move your hot drinks. This is now a dojo, not just a training room. Bit boring. I work with lots of people. I've done it lots of places. There we go. Done. Okay, pause. How are you right now? Basic skill, knowing how you are. Because otherwise you're that guy who's like, I'm not angry! You're like, well, you look it. Yeah? As a coach, do you know the state you're walking into the room in? Do you know that, oh, I'm a bit triggered by that. That scared me a little bit. That's something you can pick up on. Okay, so one word on 3, shout out, good, fine, and okay at all banned. How are you right now? 1, 2, 3? Okay. Some of you said good and okay. They were banned. Okay, not bad. So embodiment, being aware of the body as an aspect of how we are. Body as I, not it. Like, take your arm. Take your arm. You all got an arm? One arm at least? Okay. You can look at that as an object, as a thing. We talk about objectification in, say, a sexual context. About human resources. It's pretty objectifying, isn't it? Like, look like a piece of coal to you. We can look at an arm in that way, like a thing. Or how is it to be present to yourself, to be, this arm has held babies. Some has had fights. Some has held lovers. Some has written things. It's been part of me. It can feel and move. That's different, right? It's an entirely different experience. If I relate to someone else like I relate to myself, because we are what we practice. What's your name, sir? Rich. Rich, can I borrow your arm for a moment? If I sort of borrow it as a thing, like treat it as an ashtray, how's that, Rich? How does it feel?
Neutral.
Neutral. Okay, his body is actually recalling and tensing, so there may be more to it than neutral, but at least neutral. Okay? And if I actually relate to you, and it's like, okay, this is part of you, and I'm feeling myself, and I'm being aware of you. We don't have to sort of be weird and eye gaze or anything like that, but it's just like, okay, this is part of you. A certain ethics comes in. A certain care comes in. Right? I'm not treating him as an object. I'm not treating him as, I don't know, a liberal or a conservative or a Brexiter or a Remainer or any other cognitive label that may put me into a different relationship with him. I'm just treating him as a human being. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. Different orientation to myself, others, and the world. It's not just a set of tricks, right? It's not just a set of tricks. Yes, there's some great tools. The first tool I'm going to teach you to walk away with, it's really crazy advanced. It's called walking a bit differently. Okay? So we create ourselves. First thing is knowing how you are. How am I today? Am I in a hurry? Am I head down? You know, before this talk, I found myself a bit stressed and rushing. I just went slow down a bit. Come onto the heels. Breathe a bit deeper. Yeah? Don't have to be an Aikido teacher to do that stuff. How do you want to be? Like right now, today, what's a state you want to build yourself into? To at least, not to fake it, but just lean in that direction. Lean in that direction, okay? So have another little walk, this time a little bit more, not Monty Python, not silly walks, just a little bit more in a way you'd like to be today. Simple technique. Any client can do this without freaking out. So without talking, give that a go. So without talking means that lips don't move and words don't come out, if you wouldn't mind. So a bit more relaxed, a bit more direct, a bit more curious, a bit more grounded. Take your pick. Shout out, what are you working on? Or are you just ambling strangely like a cult member? What are you working on? Shout out, let's hear 1 or 2 words. Presents, you get presents for free. Embodiment's mindfulness based, so you get that for free and then it's like mindfulness plus. So presents plus something. What else? Couple more? Didn't hear them. Softer. Taller. Happier. So pause. Someone said happier. I was teaching at a yoga conference once, and I said, which direction's happy? And a little girl, 6 years old, jumped in the air. It's like, you know this stuff. You don't need me to tell you. I mean, I could give you like a really finely tuned somatic model of emotions, but you don't really need to. So my claim would be that learning, and therefore coaching, and therefore leadership, therefore parenting, whatever, is not just in the head. Amanda Blake says the body is the brain. Yeah, it's the whole body. Learning perhaps isn't best done sitting down in chairs falling asleep. So like, who generally coaches sitting in chairs? That's the default, right? Some of you are coaching today walking. Who did that? Heroes, who did those? Well done, good stuff. I sometimes coach lying down. I'm with my client and I'll say, look up at the birds. Yeah? Doesn't have to be a special technique. Now, you can do special shapes or special techniques. There's a sort of somatic language, if you will. So, for example, when I'm working on life purpose, I use this one. What do you have to give? Right? And it helps people. Or if I'm working with boundaries, I'll work with this one. No pose, we call this. I help people feel that in themselves. And some people go, it doesn't feel right. I'm like, exactly. Right? Like, cross your arms. Cross your arms. Now do it the other way. Blah. It doesn't feel right, does it? Unless you've taught this loads of times, and now it sort of does. It will feel weird, the same with your fingers, like with this one, right? One feels weird. Your emotional habits, your wired together default kind of way of doing things, yeah, is the same. So some of you are quite comfortable taking up space, and you stand with your feet very wide. Others, not so much. Try that. Try that. Just stand with your feet wider than a bit wider than normal. Freddie Mercury on the stage. All trainers are frustrated rock stars and comedians, myself included. How does it feel to take up space? How would it feel if I asked you to come on the stage and everyone to bow down before you? Very different reactions. Some people are like, woo! Some people are like, yeah, whatever, no problem. Now, what about letting someone else have space? So if I was in Eunice's workshop on embodiment, or Claire's, or someone else's that's here, Michelle's workshop, I'd let them take the space, right? I wouldn't be like, yeah, it's all about me. So how does it feel to be a bit more private? This could be a cultural embodiment. My wife's very introverted, and we went to Japan together last year. She loved it, because everyone's respectful, not everyone, but most people, they don't intrude. You know, we went to Australia, she wasn't a fan. It's a different, oh, g'day, mate. It's a different embodiment. Not everyone, in case you think I'm talking in stereotypes, but there is such a thing as culture, and it passes embodies. I've worked with young children around the world. They're sort of the same. 5, 8, definitely by 10, they look embodied in the cultural way. Yeah? I have my English side, hello, slightly embarrassed to be on the stage. And my Irish side, just like, how's it going? Nice to meet you. Some nice young ladies in the front row, it's good to see. Yeah, it's different. Is that okay? Am I step the line? Liz gave me a look. Okay, so we have our cultural embodiment. Of course, it depends where and when you are, right? Like you're at a conference, you may be in professional mode. It's a certain time of the year, time of the day, time in whatever. We have cycles, you know, different relationships we have. Like around my friend Claire, I'm quite soft. We have quite a loving relationship. Between me and a booty, the love is a bit more like, piss-takey, oh, that's well, Mickey-taking. Okay, it's a different kind of embodiment that he brings out in me, that she brings out in me. Does that make sense? You want to try this one? You want to try this, what are you giving one? So nice, solid, stable base. Otherwise, you're like, a bit off balance. Now, what's interesting, if I was up here, I'll take a picture and I'll show you later. Stay there. You all look stay there, it's great. This would be great for my Instagram. You all look, hang on, we'll just do a selfie. Keep going. There we go. Okay, so you all look totally different. So some of you are sort of like, this is me giving. Some of you are like over-giving. I have an Irish grandmother would feed me the whole time, force me to eat. It's like some of you are sort of here. Some of you are like giving to the gods. Oh, it's different, right? We could also use this for coaching. We have 26 of these. I'm just giving you one. It's one I think coaches will enjoy. Again, the other side, solid base, from the heart this time, or the belly if you prefer. Out you go. Palms up. Ask yourself this question in your first language. What, as a coach, do I have to give? And see if you can tune in a little bit. I know I'm an entertainer, but really try and tune in. Feel your body. What is it I can give as a coach? Because it's going to be different. For some of you, it's patience, not my strength. For some of you, it's care. For some of you, it's love. For some of you, it's humor. So I want you to shout out loud if you're willing to be brave. What? Don't give me the clever, smart-ass answer. Give me the genuine one from the heart, from the belly, from the womb if you've got one. Like, what do you have to give as a coach? I'd love to hear the real answer. Shout out. Oh, that is so nice. Say it. Do one more. This is so nice to hear. One more. What do you have to give This could be as a parent, as a lover, as a husband, as a wife, or as a coach. What is in your embodiment, in your system that you can really give? Because we've got different gifts, haven't we? One more time. It's not hard from this pose, is it? Most of you said something quite quickly. Yeah? So in the same way as from this pose, working on being seen becomes obvious, taking space. Working with boundaries is both exposed your relationship, noticing if it's difficult, for example, yeah? And also, you can use that as an inquiry place. So we're not just asking people words, we're using the body to help with that. Bit different from just sitting in chairs, right? I think you got the idea already. We can just have fun before we go home now. It looks like everyone's got the light bulb. So I use those examples. It's not, you don't have to have a six-pack and be Adonis-like, good-looking like me. It's not necessary to be this athletic. You know, there's an embarrassment around the body because we've reduced the body to something, you know, something a bit taboo or something toilet and sex and things like that. We don't really think about it. You know, I do workshops with senior business people, and there's giggling when I start talking about the body. It's like, wow, something's gone wrong in our culture if we can't talk about this playground, temple, poem, expression of who we are as without embarrassment, right? Not body language either, that's the other confusion. So it's authentic, it's not like I've learned a thing from Mark and now I can manipulate people more effectively. Yeah? And in terms of why now, I think I said that already. Why now? Why now? So for me, it's not only because in a sort of fast-changing, complex world, the skills that embodiment brings are useful. It's also because I think like this lack of heart. Like, who here is pretty dissatisfied with politics right now, for example? Okay, most of you. You know, this lack of heart, we see it across disciplines, you know? There's not many Premiership footballers that I find admirable of character. There are some, but not a huge amount, yeah? The Greeks would have found that a strange idea. The Greeks had this word somatic, the living body in its wholeness, as opposed to sarx, a hunk of meat. The Greeks would have found that a strange idea. The Olympics was as much about character development, moral development, emotional and psychological development. The Aztecs too, there's many cultures, it's not a new idea in many ways. You know this, I've said that already. You can feel your state, but we need something that brings out your embodiment. Like an old pair of shoes you've got used to wearing, you don't feel your embodiment. Everyone else feels it, right? I mean, you can try this with just a small thing. Try raising your chin slightly. And what can change is your perception, your emotion, your cognition can change. I get more judgmental when I do this, yeah? Your relationships, if I met you in this mode, it's going to be quite different than if I met you with the chin down. Try with the chin down. There's a few variations here. It could be a sort of chin down type, which is like aggressive, or chin down submissive. I'm just playing with one piece to show you. Do you see how that changes your perception? It changes your possibilities. So as a coach, what changes? Everything, right? So you're coaching from being, coaching from who you are. Yeah? How you are, your mood, yes, you can spot that, but the who you are, you need to reveal that. This is where feedback can be useful. This is where doing a model, we use 4 elements model, and we take people through 4 different embodiments and then say which is familiar. So are you the coach who says, hello, welcome to the coaching session. What would you like to get out of today's session? Or are you the coach who's like, so nice to see you. Welcome to the coaching session. What would you like to get from today? Or the coach says, right, welcome to the session. What do you want to get? Or the coach says, oh, sorry, I'm late. We're doing some coaching. Yes. What can we do today? We can do anything today. What are we going to do? You see how that's going to lead to 4 completely different coaching sessions? Right? So why don't you turn to a partner and just, like in 1 minute, literally 1 minute, you can try that classic, you know, what do you want to get from today's session? It's a pretty good way to start a session, right? Try that in 2 different modes. I'm hamming them up a bit because I'm on a stage and it makes it obvious. Try if you can find a couple of different modes that are real for you. Yes? So a couple of different modes to start a coaching session. So hopefully you're seeing how much range you have. Or are you a sort of coaching hammer where every student looks like a nail? Right? Loads of other ways to this, standing in different ways, moving in different ways, going to different dances, different movement practices, and seeing if you hate it. Something on the board is probably more interesting than me. Let's look at that. So self-awareness. How am I? But also those patterns, those ways of being. Why do I feel at home when I'm in Israel? There's something in my being. It's not because I'm Jewish, actually. It's something in my being that likes that speed and directness and blah. There's an energy to Israel, which I really like. Okay, other people hate it. Okay, there's a feeling in Tel Aviv versus Jerusalem. It's different. I feel more at home in one than the other. State and pattern. We regulate ourselves. We learn to manage ourselves. If you're not a toddler, you can already do this. You can use some of those great, different tools like Laura was showing earlier. There's a whole bunch of different tools out there. I've seen, someone was working with some from theater, for example, some from improv, some from yoga. There's a wealth of embodied knowledge out there. No one person in a lifetime can study all of embodiment. There's a few like Bonnie Bainbridge-Curran or Richard Strozzi Heckler have come pretty close. Some people that have done a lot, a few black belts and things like this. But it's in one lifetime, it's very hard because there's so much good stuff. Regulating your state or expressing your state. You could put expression in here. Who thinks which of those is stronger for you, the expression or the regulation? Some of you are like, I'm not sure. That's regulation. Some of you are like, let me tell you. I'm thinking on the expressive front, without going sort of full American motivational speaker, there's one I'd like to give you. It's a bit of a risk, but it's a lot of fun. If you're willing to sort of put the English embarrassment down for a moment, everyone's going, what's going to happen? Clothes are staying on, don't worry. Here's how it looks. Yes! Oh, who wants to give that a go? Yes! Yes, try it! Yes! Yes! That was pretty good. That was pretty good. At least most people here from the UK. Pretty good. So there's a way of being in our bodies that other people become aware of, that we have to learn to see, okay, there's a pattern here. I'm noticing my patterns. There's loads of great ways to do it. We regulate ourselves. Then we become aware of other people. Okay, so if I just touch hands with a couple of people, if you don't mind. Okay, and the next one. Okay, and the next one. Totally different. 3 totally different people. One of them was pushing, one of them was very delicate, one of them was keeping me far away, the other was like close. Completely different, 3 human beings, 3 completely different things. And I'm quite sensitive to that because I've danced with a lot of people, I've moved with a lot, I've fought a lot of people, other things with a lot of people. Anyway, moving on. So you get more sensitive to bodies, and that's a skill. What I love about this model of embodiment, it's like Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence model, but it's skill-based, it's practical. Emotional intelligence is essentially a subset of this. And then we have embodied leadership, right? That idea of can you lead people? This is not like, hi, I'm your coach, I'm here to inspire you. Inspirational speaker. Yeah? It's like, you've already lost, haven't you? You've already lost. So, can you have influence? Can you impact people? And not in a fake way. We all find our own style, right? We've got different vibes, different ways of doing it, different cultural backgrounds, but to not be in your body is not compelling. It's not attractive in all senses of that word. Yeah? Whew, give yourself a little shake, a little wriggle, a little process through the body. There's another trick tool you can take away, a simple one. Let's work a little bit with stress. Ah! Dogs, humans, they're the same. Really easy to find those pictures. Just put in stress dogs, stress business people. So very easy to find. The stress response is physiological, right? It's where if 2 guys are arguing, you go up to them and says, gentlemen, I think you'll find it's more rational to calm down now. They're not going to calm down. The same with a dog, right? Like I was in Russia and a dog came up to me and started barking with me and I was like, it's okay. I like dogs. I like you. You like me. I like dogs. I like dogs. Dogs are cool. And this dog sort of calmed down. And my colleagues were like, it is amazing. This dog speaks English. Of course the dog didn't. I was just regulating my state, and it's hard to be angry at someone who's calm and loving, right? It's quite difficult. Anyone want to try? Anyone good at being angry? Yeah, jump up, jump up. I'm not, just to be clear, the exercise is you have to shout abuse at me. Tell me I have too many noses.
You've got too many noses.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to spit on you.
It's okay. And again, try again.
You've got too many noses.
Thank you, I really appreciate that. It's hard to stay angry, isn't it?
No.
Round of applause. So hopefully you don't get shouted at about having too many noses. This is from Paul Linden, one of my teachers who works with abuse recovery in children. He's learned to find things that aren't triggering in the content, hence this slightly strange example. But there may be some triggers in your life, right? Like some stressors. So close your eyes, think about those. What's stressful to you? Nothing traumatic, nothing hardcore, but just something a bit annoying that's going on for you. If you have a perfect life, you can go smoke crack for 10 minutes or something, I don't know. What do you do in your body when you think about this stress, when you remember this stress? Okay, pause, open your eyes, have a little shake, have a little wriggle. Don't stay there for too long. Did anyone sort of open and expand, relaxed, lovingly, like, no? Of course not. You laugh, right? But it makes sense. And if, you know, like, if my best mate James, he'll come up to me and he'll say, or Pietro, I mentioned earlier, he'll just say awful things to me. Like, you are just, I won't even repeat them because Liz is here. But he'll swear at me, he'll say awful things, but in such a loving way. He'll say, you're such an idiot, Mark. You're such a, let's say, jerk. And it's worse than that. And I'll say, thank you, I've missed you too. I also love you, thank you. It's really lovely to see you, James. Yeah, because the body is open and expansive and relaxed, yeah? So when people are stressed, you know it. You know, what's wrong? Nothing. Okay. You see this with your clients, hopefully, when they close, when they don't feel safe, someone was talking about in another workshop. So, yes, the first thing is get to know that response physiologically. This is different from getting to know the theory. I could read a book and know about the neurotransmitters and the adrenaline and the cortisol, but to actually get to know it in your body, if you're doing yoga, you get to know it when the yoga postures are hard. If you're doing extreme sports, martial arts, having cold showers, you get to know that feeling at a low level before it's overwhelming, before it's got too much. Then we can do something about it. You can spot it early. You're not the shouty guy who thinks he's not angry, yeah? You could do a technique like centering. Why don't you try that now? So stand in an upright, relaxed, non-weird looking position with your eyes open, because you need to be able to do this while standing in normal life, right? This is different from going off and meditating. This is from the martial arts, something you can do quick. Yeah, not having, I just got to go do some yoga before we have this discussion, yeah? Okay? Feel your body. So it does begin with mindfulness, with feeling. Feel your feet particularly. Balance your posture. So make it a little more balanced left and right, front and back. Physical balance, emotional balance. Balance your awareness all around. So you're aware of the whole room. Relax your core. Relax your mouth, your eyes, your belly. Right down. Let it relax. Think of someone who makes you smile. You could add another C, connected. Who makes you smile? My friend Claire there. Hello. You could actually do it in real life, which is... Okay, how do you feel now? More or less resourced to do a coaching session than when you were stressed, thinking about the stressful thing? Who says more resourced? I imagine the majority of you. Yeah? Sometimes I do this with clients by throwing a tissue at them, throwing a Kleenex at them. Sometimes we do it with words. We say, let's work with difficult feedback. And we practice. This is the key thing. Not just telling them about it factually, but giving them skills they can practice and develop. How do you get good at a language? Practice. How do you get good at sport? How do you get good at driving? This is what builds our long-term being, not just the state change. Yeah, having a practice which you do over time. Like, we've done the weekend workshops and jumped up and down and go, woo! Woo! I like that. Woo! Okay? We do that, and then we go back a few days later, you're back to normal. The states wore off. So how do you embed it, a practice? It doesn't have to be Aikido or yoga. You might not have time or the inclination for that. For some of my business people, it's like, okay, walk to work just a little slower or a little more direct or a little more whatever. Give them a little daily practice for a few minutes, something doable, yeah? Same with the Embodied Connection one. So you're practicing getting used to feeling other bodies. Now, I can give you models to analyze. You know, introverts' feet are more this way, extroverts this way, unless they've done ballet, though. You know, I can give you models like this. But more importantly is to develop that capacity as a coach to feel. If you're not a psychopath, you can already do this. All right? We do this every day. We go, that person, not sure about them, we will go across the road. Sometimes that's just prejudice. However, there's another skill, which is actually feeling, yeah? So what I'd like to do without talking is we're going to have a cocktail party where we meet 3 people, like I did at the front. Please do not talk. It would make you just ruin everyone's learning if you do. And all I want you to do is feel how different they are. Make sense? So 1 minute, go. 3 different human beings, right? Feel the difference? Actually, before a coach even comes in your room, you hear it. Some people. You're already getting a sense of it. I do a lot of embodied coaching on the phone. Yeah? You can hear in people's breath patterns. You can hear the embodiment that's there. As you get more and more sensitive at this, the better you get at it. It's a set of skills like any other. Some of you will be natural. Some, like me, have to learn the hard way. Yeah. It's just making sense. Pretty straightforward, right? Have another walk, just for a minute. Walk around, stretch, touch a couple more people if you haven't already. Not like that. Okay. Couple of things to finish. By the way, I won't do questions, but I will be around at the end, and I'll do questions on the app as well if you get a question later. So we'll make time for that afterwards. Embodied listening exercise. Can I have a volunteer, Claire? Anyone? Someone? Yes, lady in the back. Before you step up. So the exercise involves being touched here. I just want to be totally is okay if you don't want to do that. You're okay with that? Yep. Okay. Come on up. Consent's kind of a big deal to me, and I'm just aware that it's. You're not Claire. Okay. So, hello. What's your name? Siobhan. Mark. Shivani. Excuse me, Mark. So, any stress response going on in your body right now?
I noticed that.
A little bit of hand twitching, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Breathing okay?
Probably I'm noticing I'm holding it a bit.
Holding your breath a little bit. Great. So this could be another way I'd work with someone. Turn around, look at everyone. You notice it. Still breathing? Yeah. Okay. So simple things. And actually, she seems, I'm also, as a coach, I'm tuning in and going, does she seem okay? Does she seem like she's got enough resource for this? Is she like massively triggered right now? Because I don't want to kind of do the next part of the exercise if she is, right? So the exercise is an embodied listening exercise. And it's very simple. It will just be a hand here. So the key thing here is a safe area. So you're not here or anywhere else, yeah? Is it all right if I take your hand and put it here? Mm-hmm. Thank you. So here, you can do it without touching as well if you like, just by standing in front of each other. Make sure you're facing. There you go, great. I see this exercise in a few places. Some Aikido teachers who are working with this. Hello, different sense of a person, right? Straight away, yeah? And I'd like you to ask me, what do you care about coming out of this conference?
Ask you?
Yeah.
What do you care about coming out of this conference?
Something about sharing in just a playful, real way. Yeah, realizing this work doesn't have to be complicated. Thank you. Then we'd swap. Make sense? Just helping someone tune into themselves a little bit more. If you prefer not to touch, totally okay to just stand in front of each other and ask the question, but full attention, full presence here if you don't want to touch. So, thank you very much. Round of applause for being brave and helping us out. Great. So you've got 3 minutes, 1.5 minutes each. Okay, I'll ding a bell when it's half time, then I'll ding it repeatedly in a passive-aggressive manner at the end. So, the question again.
Sorry, put the C on this side.
Oh, no problem. Come up. My bad. Okay, may I?
Yeah.
May I put your hand on here?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a listening exercise. Yeah, and she's going to ask me, what do you care about coming out of this conference? Or something similar around values is fine, whatever's natural to you. And then I'll answer. Okay. Thank you for that, Liz. Appreciate that. Okay, so a few minutes with a partner. Give it a go. 1 bell will be the changeover. How was that? Different sense of connection than otherwise? Now, obviously, you can't do that with every client. We need to calibrate which clients, we do different things with.
I've got a question.
Very quickly.
You had a very deliberate stance.
Yes.
And I found doing that
Yes.
very aggressive.
Ah, okay. What's your relationship to aggression?
Very complicated.
Then we won't open it up now. Okay. I mean, if we, I was doing a half-hour coaching session, what a great place to start. Right? The same with this two-handed touch we did earlier. If someone's keeping me out here, or someone's like this, or dominating my hands like this. Okay, it's like, okay, I just ask, is that something you do in life? Or maybe you've just got a bad wrist, this could be just a physical reason. So it can, like a little inquiry can come out of quite a simple exercise. It can be very juicy that, there's this saying, the body doesn't lie. It's not entirely true if you've ever been a drug addict and you think you're gonna die, but it's pretty true. And not now, thank you. Okay, so there's ways in which the body reveals itself, and it will reveal itself to very clearly, very quickly. So I view embodied work as fun, but also as a shortcut. Wendy Palmer, a senior teacher in this field, says this is a shortcut. It's a great way of working with clients. I find with clients, as long as I'm relaxed with it, I've worked with the Met, the top police in London. I've worked with board-level CEOs of major countries. I've worked with the military in multiple countries. So I actually worked in the House of Lords once, actually, across the river. So I deliberately found the hardest people to work with to say, can you find a way to make this work? And some places I put on a shirt on and don't swear, Some places I'm in my yoga pants. Some places I introduce it with some great neuroscience or, kind of go in that way. Someone else did that for me earlier. Thank you, Laura, right? Actually, that would have been a great precursor to this session, just to do one after the other. She was talking about a lot of the same stuff. So it's how you do it. I want to end with a story, because stories are memorable. Stories bring things out. Do you remember my friend Polish Pete from the beginning? So he's my Aikido friend. We live together. Eventually, he learns English. And his girlfriend comes over, and I help get his girlfriend over. And we, a really strong bond because of kind of like, we didn't have any money, but we scraped together enough fight for the EasyJet flight and got her over. And when they got married, they asked me to be best man in Poland. I didn't know what I was doing because it's all in Polish and Latin, Catholic country. But it was a wonderful experience, and we're dancing together and, eating with all these Polish people, even if they don't speak English and I don't speak much Polish. And we're having a great time, and it's, he's married for a few years, and then his wife, Kasia, beautiful, sweet Kasia, gets cancer. It's really rough, and for a few years, the messages I'm getting are pretty rough. And one day she dies. And Pietra calls me up and says, listen, do you want to come to the funeral? And there's no way I'm not going to come, right? The Polish tradition's quite quick, so I managed to have like 20 hours I could go to Poland to help him out, to be his friend. And he picks me up from the airport, because there's no way he's going to let anyone else pick me up, because I'm his friend, and, when he's kind of a macho Polish guy, and he says he's picking me up, that's that. So he picks me up, and we're driving all through the night to the middle of Poland. It's quite a way away where he lives from Warsaw, a few hours drive. And he's telling me these stories about his wife. And, I'm staying present to him, and I'm listening. And the stories get worse and worse and worse, right? They get, as she degenerates, she tells me the story of the last couple of years since I saw him last. And at that point, as a coach, what am I doing? I'm not asking clever questions, all right? There's no tricks. There's no techniques. I'm just being present to him, right? And eventually he pulls over, he cries. And this is a big deal for a, tough Polish martial arts black belt guy, right? And I hug him, and he's able to express himself. Like he's got that embodied emotional intelligence to express himself. A lot of his peers haven't, actually, And he trusts me to do that. I'm able to build that trust in that relationship. Again, no clever questions, no technique, but embodied coaching in the loosest, deepest sense. We get 2 hours sleep. We do the funeral the next day, and he's there, and he's in his suit, and he's totally together. He's just a beautiful, strong man, and he's there for his youngest daughter, for her daughter, he's there for his little sister, he's there for her family, and he's totally together. And I looked at him, and he's standing there, and he's probably centering, and he's all this Aikido training in his bones, and I thought, this is what we trained for. All those years of being thrown around the dojo. I've never beat anyone up with Aikido, but moments like that, we were training for that, I go home, I managed to get to my next job. A year later, I'm getting married, and it's my wife I met in the Ukraine. I met her in working the war in the Ukraine. And we had all these visa problems, and it was really rough, but eventually she gets a visa, she comes to the UK, and Pietra turns up, because there's no way he's not gonna, right? And he's there, and he's got a bottle of some weird Polish vodka with grass in it or some shit. And he's talking to my family, and he's dancing, and he's, getting to know everyone, and he's starting flirting with a couple of my friends. I'm like, this is good. It's been a couple of years. He's starting to come out of himself. And I saw him dance, and I thought, okay, so he knows how to cry, he knows how to not cry, and he knows how to dance. That's embodiment. That's embodied skills. And, for me, There's loads of great methodologies in coaching. This is just one, but for me, it affects some of the most profound things. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you for being so engaged. I appreciate it. Thank you.